Have you ever wondered about the rarest two-stroke outboard engines of all time that you've probably never even seen? These mechanical marvels represent the most elusive and sought-after marine power plants in boating history, with some so rare that only a handful exist worldwide. But here's the shocking truth. Many of these legendary engines were produced in quantities so limited that finding one today is like discovering buried treasure. However, what makes these engines truly extraordinary isn't just their rarity. It's the revolutionary engineering, the stories behind their creation, and the significant values they command among collectors. In this video, I'll reveal the most exclusive two-stroke outboards ever manufactured, including engines from manufacturers that have been forgotten by everyone except dedicated collectors. Let's dive into the fascinating world of the rarest two-stroke outboard engines that collectors search for. The Seagull Century Plus is one of the most iconic yet elusive outboards ever produced by British Seagull. Built in Poole, Dorset, this motor featured a robust, utilitarian design known for reliability over speed. What made the Century Plus stand out was its upgraded features, such as the self-sharpening propeller and improved cooling, that evolved from earlier Silver Century models. British Seagull engines gained a reputation among fishermen and mariners for their minimalistic durability. While most engines from the brand were common across Europe, the Plus variant was made in small batches toward the brand's final production, years before closing in 1990. Today, original examples with all chrome components and authentic documentation are exceedingly rare. Collectors love the Seagull's retro aesthetic and bulletproof construction, making it a true trophy piece. Restoring one is both a technical challenge and a historical journey. It's not just an engine, it's a symbol of post-war British ingenuity on water. And yes, it sounds as gritty as it looks. The Gamefisher 2 175858111 was a budget-friendly two-stroke outboard sold by Sears in the 1980s and early 90s. Manufactured under contract by Esser, hence the 217 prefix, it featured a lightweight, air-cooled design built for simplicity and portability. With just a few horsepower, it was never meant to power a yacht, but was ideal for dinghies, canoes, and small fishing boats. What makes this model rare today isn't its performance, it's survival. Many were cheaply made and heavily used, meaning few examples still exist in working or original condition. Enthusiasts often scour estate sales and barn auctions, hoping to find one in good shape. Collectors value the two 175858111 not for high speed, but for nostalgic charm, especially those who remember learning to fish with one clamped to the back of a John boat. Today, these motors are slowly gaining cult status, especially among those restoring vintage Sears gear. If you find one with an intact decal and original parts, grab it. It's a quiet legend. If you're loving these rare marine treasures, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We've got so much more incredible boat content coming your way. And speaking of incredible finds, wait until you see the next engine on our list. It's from a company that helped pioneer the entire outboard industry. The Evanrude Speed Twin 28 was a twin-cylinder powerhouse from the 1960s that delivered unmatched performance for its size. Built during Evanrude's golden era, the Speed Twin was designed to bridge everyday boating with racing pedigree. Though most were standard recreational models, a handful of factory-modified versions were built specifically for competition. These rare racing editions featured upgraded porting, tuned carburetors, and reinforced internals for high RPM abuse. They were never sold to the public. Instead, they were allocated to racers under the radar. What makes the Speed Twin 28 so desirable today is its perfect mix of power, vintage charm, and scarcity, especially the race-tuned variants. Surviving motors with verified competition history are collector gold, often fetching premium prices if they include the original cowling and carb setup. Enthusiasts seek out motors with matching serial numbers, service logs, and visible racing tweaks. If you ever come across a Speed Twin 28 with blueprinted internals and that unmistakable Evanrude growl, you found a rare marine relic. The Mac10 Hydro is a mythical name among hydroplane racing circles. Built in Italy for competitive racing, this two-stroke marvel was more aircraft tech than boat motor. Precision-machined components, lightweight magnesium alloys, and specialized carburetors made it an elite piece of engineering far ahead of its time. Mac-10s were never mass-produced. They were built on order for serious racers in Europe and North America during the 1960s and 70s. Every Mac-10 saw action, meaning most were either destroyed in races or modified beyond recognition. Finding a complete, original unit today is nearly impossible. These engines didn't just perform. They screamed across the water at speeds that terrified even seasoned racers. With delicate tolerances and exotic materials, restoring one requires aerospace-grade skills and often custom machining. For collectors, owning a Mac10 isn't just about rarity, it's about prestige. It's like finding a Ferrari F1 engine in someone's shed. If there's a holy grail of European outboards, this is it. The combination of Italian engineering excellence, racing heritage, and extreme rarity makes Mac10 motors among the most desirable finds for serious outboard collectors who appreciate exotic marine engineering. The Johnson XR55 is a legend among racing outboards, developed during the peak of hydroplane competition in the 1970s. Built exclusively for professional racing teams, it was never sold to the public. The XR55 featured lightweight magnesium parts, high-performance carburetors, and custom port timing to survive the brutal demands of high RPM hydroplane racing. These engines weren't mass-produced. Only a small batch was built each season, and even fewer survived intact. Most XR55s were thrashed in competitive events, rebuilt several times, or retired with parts scavenged for other race projects. Collectors prize them not only for their raw speed, but also for the heritage. Owning one connects you to the golden era of Johnson's racing legacy. Due to their specialized design, restoring an XR55 is not for beginners. Parts are scarce, and knowledge is held within a tight-knit collector circle. If you find one with factory tags and original hardware, you're not just holding a motor, you're holding racing history. The Pharaoh TypeO, built by Pharaoh Machine and Foundry in Cleveland, Ohio, is one of the earliest production outboards in American history. Developed in the 1910s, it featured detachable construction designed for rowboats and canoes, an innovation unheard of at the time. Made of brass and cast iron, these motors were compact yet surprisingly sophisticated, offering water cooling and an efficient ignition system in an era when most small engines were unreliable. Pharaoh emphasized ease of use and rugged construction, which made their motors ideal for early recreational boaters. Their modular design meant they could be disassembled for transport, a huge advantage back then. Because these motors were built over a century ago, very few have survived, and even fewer in restorable condition. Collectors treasure them for their craftsmanship and historical significance. If you ever see one with original brass fittings and intact serial plates, you're looking at a slice of marine engineering history. Pharaoh didn't just make motors, they helped invent the industry. The Cyle Model 79, known affectionately as the Redhead, was a Depression-era innovation from the Cyle Perfection Motor Company in Detroit. Priced at exactly $79 when released in 1933, it was a bold attempt to bring high-end features to struggling American consumers. What made it stand out was its electric start, a rarity in that price range. With sleek cowling, reliable cooling, and an iconic red-painted cylinder head, the Model 79 struck a balance between affordability and innovation. It wasn't mass-produced for long, as economic constraints during the Great Depression limited manufacturing capacity. Today, original Model 79s are extremely rare, especially ones with functioning electric starters and authentic paint. These motors appeal to collectors who value both engineering and era-specific design. The Cyle company itself is remembered for pushing boundaries in outboard tech, and the Model 79 captures that spirit perfectly. If you come across one with its factory label intact, you're holding a piece of ingenuity forged in hard times. The Waterman Porto W4 represents the foundation of the modern outboard industry. The Waterman Porto W4 is the outboard that started it all. Developed by Cameron Waterman in 1903 and commercialized by 1906, it was the first truly portable outboard motor. Adapting motorcycle engine technology, Waterman's W4 introduced groundbreaking features: reliable ignition, water cooling, and an easy-to-mount clamp-on system. These features, now standard, were revolutionary at the time. The W4 transformed boating from an elite pursuit into a hobby for the masses. Early versions featured a horizontal cylinder, direct drive to a gear prop, and lightweight construction, perfect for small boats. By 1914, Waterman had sold tens of thousands of these engines, cementing his place in marine history. Because of their age, few Porto W4s exist today in restorable condition. Those that do often reside in museums or private collections. To collectors, owning a Porto W4 is like owning the first Ford Model T of boating. It's not just rare, it's historically defining. It represents the genesis of recreational marine propulsion. The Lockwood Twin Special, built in the late 1920s by the Lockwood Ash Motor Company of Michigan, was no ordinary outboard. It was a speed demon. This opposed twin-cylinder motor wasn't just for fishing, it was engineered for racing, featuring lightweight construction, precision-balanced internals, and high-flow carburetors that screamed across the water. While Lockwood Ash made consumer-grade motors for Sears under the MotorGo label, the Twin Special was developed in limited numbers for performance junkies and competitive racers. Its smooth-running, horizontally opposed layout gave it excellent balance at high RPMs, and the motor's compact design made it a perfect fit for smaller racing hulls. Today, it's one of the rarest pre-World War II outboards on the market. Most were either destroyed in competition or lost to time, and finding one with original parts is exceptionally rare. Collectors with an eye for 1920s racing tech treat the Twin Special like a marine treasure. It's a reminder of when boat racing was pure, raw, and utterly mechanical. Now, are you amazed by these engineering marvels? Drop a comment below telling us which rare outboard you'd most love to own, and don't forget to like this video if you're learning something new. The Scottetwater Bamatic was more than a clever name. It was an engineering experiment gone commercial. Developed in the mid-20th century, the Bamatic featured an integrated water bailing system that pumped water out of the boat while the engine ran, making it one of the earliest safety-first outboards. The concept was simple but brilliant, especially for smaller boats prone to taking on water. Scottetwater marketed this innovation hard, but only a small number were produced before the idea faded from mainstream use. Today, the Bamatic is prized by collectors not only for its quirky function, but also for what it represented: a time when companies weren't afraid to innovate radically. Finding a complete Bamatic today, especially one with the bailing system still intact and functional, is extremely rare. These motors usually show up in collector circles or at high-end vintage marine auctions. If you ever see one running, take a video. It's one of the few outboards that helps power the boat and save it. The Mercury KG7 Super 10 Hurricane is one of the most legendary racing outboards ever built. Released in the early 1950s, it was a factory racing engine disguised as a recreational motor. With a 10 horsepower rating on paper, the KG7 was actually capable of far more, thanks to its dual reed valve intake, high-speed crankshaft, and tuned exhaust. Racers quickly discovered its hidden potential, and Mercury leaned into the hype. Some rare KG7 variants, especially factory blueprinted units or racing prototypes, featured unique ignition systems, porting tweaks, and exotic materials. Surviving examples with these rare configurations are gold in collector circles. The KG7 was a beast in the A and B hydroplane classes, often pushing boats past 50 miles per hour. What makes it truly collectible today is not just its power, it's the culture around it. Owning a KG7 means owning a piece of Mercury's racing soul. If you ever spot one with racing decals and factory tags, you're looking at a sleeper legend. The Johnson Model K isn't just a motor, it's early American innovation carved in steel. Produced by the Johnson brothers around 1912, it was part of a family of experimental marine and aircraft engines developed before Johnson became a household name. This two-cylinder outboard featured advanced tech for its time: water cooling, reliable ignition, and lightweight materials adapted from aviation. With a V-cylinder configuration and mechanical simplicity, the Model K demonstrated serious engineering ahead of its era. Fewer than a few hundred were ever made, and most were used hard by early boaters or racers. The rarity lies not only in production volume, but in the fact that Johnson later shifted direction, making these pre-1920s models true oddities. Collectors who specialize in antique engines consider the Model K a museum-grade piece. It captures the inventive, pre-commercial spirit of marine propulsion. If you find one with brass fittings, original coils, or its wooden prop still intact, you've basically discovered a relic of American mechanical history. The Waterman Porto was the hot-rodded sibling of the world's first production outboard. Designed by Cameron Waterman in the early 1910s, this variant took the standard Porto design and added racing-focused features: better carburation, modified port timing, and lighter materials for higher speed. These were the motor's serious competitors used to dominate early 20th century regattas and club races. Unlike the mass-produced base models, the racing Portos were built in very small numbers, often custom-tuned for individual races. Some were hand-selected off the assembly line, disassembled, and remachined for tighter tolerances. Few of these rare performance variants survived, having been run to their limits on wooden skiffs and hydroplanes. Today, they're some of the rarest outboards on Earth. Their combination of historical importance, engineering evolution, and racing heritage makes them highly desirable. Finding one with provenance, like a race tag, registration records, or factory documentation, is almost unheard of. If the standard Porto changed boating, the racing Porto helped launch marine racing itself. The Cyle Flashstreak was a fierce, no-compromise racing motor developed by the Cyle Perfection Motor Company for elite marine competition. Released during the 1920s, it was designed to outperform every other engine in its class with bold engineering choices, aggressive porting, dual carb setups, and reinforced internals. Unlike consumer-grade Cyle motors, the Flash Streak was built to win races. Its sleek design, usually with a polished cowling and red detailing, made it an unmistakable presence at early powerboat events. Fewer than 100 were ever built, and most were reserved for professional racers. The Flash Streak was pushed hard, often rebuilt, modified, or blown up during competition. As a result, original examples with matching serials, untouched internals, and factory badges are vanishingly rare. Restoring one today requires period tools, machining know-how, and a deep understanding of 1920s race tech. Among collectors, it's a crown jewel, a rare blend of performance, beauty, and pure American racing ambition from a long-gone era. The Esser Model 1515 is an unassuming but crucial part of small engine history. Built during the late 1960s and early 70s, this lightweight two-stroke was designed for casual boaters and fishing trips. But some rare 1515 served a different purpose: development testing. Esser engineers used certain units as test beds for prototype technologies like water-cooled exhausts, alternative carburetor geometries, and lightweight alloys. These pre-production variants were never sold publicly, and few made it beyond engineering facilities or company lakeside demos. Because Esser specialized in ultra-affordable motors, most were used heavily and discarded, making any surviving development models incredibly rare. Collectors often search for serial anomalies, custom machining, or factory stamps to confirm prototype status. While it lacks the glamour of a race engine, the Model 1515 prototype tells a deeper story of quiet innovation and small company ambition. If you spot one with an unusual cowling or internal layout, take a closer look. It might just be a one-of-one relic from the drawing boards of forgotten marine ingenuity. That wraps up our exploration of rare two-stroke outboard engines. If this video sparked your interest in vintage marine motors, you absolutely need to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more incredible boat content. Which of these rare engines interested you the most? Have you ever encountered vintage outboard motors in barns, garages, or estate sales? Drop your stories in the comments below. I read every single one and love hearing from fellow marine enthusiasts. And if you want to explore more content and marine history, check out our other videos on classic boats and marine engineering. Until next time, keep exploring the fascinating world of nautical nostalgia.